On the night of May the 2nd, drones carried out a massive attack on a number of military facilities in Crimea. Powerful explosions were first recorded at about 1:30 Kiev time. The sounds were heard in the Sevastopol area. Local residents report that the sounds of explosions were mainly coming from the direction of military airfields. The public page Krymskiy Veter reports. Crimeans also write about the work of air defense systems. Not only helicopters, but also fighter jets took to the skies to intercept drones. The occupation authorities claim that Ukraine used not only drones, but also Neptune-type missiles. Explosions were recorded in the area of airfields near Simferopol, Kachi, Belbek, Saki, Novofedorovka and Dzhankoy. Following the work of Russian air defense, fires and conflagrations were recorded in a number of areas of the peninsula. Occupation Governor Razvozhaev said up to 10 drones were shot down and the Ukrainian Armed Forces launched a combined attack on Crimea. It is quite possible to push Russian occupiers out of the temporarily occupied Crimea. This was stated in an interview with Union by the commander of the Crimean battalion, veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Akayev. Not can, but must. This is our duty. It is 100% possible to do this, and we will do it. Honestly, I did not expect that such talk about Crimea would even arise, Akayev said, answering a question about the possibility of deoccupation of the peninsula. It is very difficult for me to convey the whole range of feelings that I experience. I just want to rage and throw. It is very difficult to restrain myself. The rage just rolls in waves. When I talk about Crimea, my heart bleeds. I want to go home so much. I have no strength. I want to visit the graves of my parents, to see still living relatives, old people, brothers, sisters who remain there. I have not seen my native threshold for more than 10 years. The battalion commander emphasized. He also noted that under no circumstances will he give up the fight to return his native peninsula. I'll tell you this, no matter what they agree on in Crimea, no matter what they do, I will continue to fight with them until I return home. I will do everything to be buried in my native land, the soldier said. The commander of the Crimea battalion also spoke harshly about those who believe that for the sake of peace with Russia, it is worth giving up claims to Crimea. He recalled the statement of the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. It is impossible to negotiate with the tiger when your head is in its mouth. As Akayev specifies, it is impossible to come to an agreement with Moscow, and it is impossible to accept, even temporarily, the fact that Crimea is Russian. He notes that Ukrainians will fight to the end for every piece of their land. Ukraine's defense forces have transitioned to systematic and effective strikes against Russian air defense systems in occupied Crimea using as yet undisclosed strike UAVs, according to Defense Express, while previous evidence of such attacks was typically limited to night vision footage. Newly released daytime images clearly show the aftermath of a successful strike on 2 radar stations. The photos, dated April the 25th, 2025, reportedly show the effects of a drone attack near the town of Saki, targeting components of the Russian S-400 air defense system. Although initial reports mentioned damage to only 1 radar, the imagery reveals that 2 radar units were hit. One appears to be a 96L6 surveillance and target acquisition radar, which can be integrated into the S-400 system or operate independently. The second is likely a 91N6 or its older variant, the 64N6. This radar is distinguished by its prominent phased array antenna and serves as the primary long-range surveillance system within the S-400 battalion structure. Both radars clearly exhibit damage to their antenna arrays, rendering them non-operational. Repairing such systems requires extensive and specialized work at dedicated facilities, Defense Express says. The exact type of UAV used in the strike remains unconfirmed. However, previous successful attacks on similar targets in Crimea have been attributed to Primary Unit of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. This unit is credited with the destruction of numerous Russian radar and air defense systems. Defense Express reports, based on publicly available imagery and debris shown by Russian sources, the UAVs involved may belong to the Bucha class loitering munitions with a claimed range of up to 500 kilometers and warheads ranging from 2 to 15 kilograms. As the photos demonstrate, even a 15-kilogram warhead is sufficient to disable critical radar assets. The 91N6 radar, featuring a dual-sided phased array antenna, is a component of the S-400 missile system and is used for early detection of aerial targets. Russian sources claim the system can detect aerodynamic targets at ranges of up to 600 kilometers. Recently, the Russians also filmed a Ukrainian drone of an unknown model hitting their mobile decimeter radar in the Kursk region. It is reported that the radar was struck on April the 20th by an aircraft-type drone. The Russian army is using temporarily occupied Crimea to launch missiles, including Iskander-M ballistic missiles, at mainland Ukraine. The spokesman for the Ukrainian Navy, Captain 3rd Rank Dmitry Pletenchuk, spoke about this on the air of the telethon. Russia is using the temporarily occupied Crimea as a launch pad for Iskander-M missiles, an operational tactical complex. By using it, they are trying to reduce the distance and, accordingly, the flight time in order to reduce the possibility of our reaction to reduce it. Unfortunately, until these territories are liberated, they will be used by the enemy in this way, Pletenchuk said. He added that there are enemy airfields in Crimea from which tactical aircraft take off and are periodically used to carry out strikes. Unfortunately, they feel quite safe in the airspace over the Black Sea. As for ballistics, they move mobile platforms, hide them around Crimea, and it is quite difficult to track their location and launch sites. In addition, the Bastion coastal missile systems remain there, which at one time were often used to fire Onyx missiles at mainland Ukraine, and one such case was recorded this year, Pletenchuk said. As the Navy representative emphasizes, the Russians are using Crimea as a military hub and they don't care about the holiday season at all. Russians have never cared about the holiday season. It is interesting that this year Crimea may become more popular than the beaches of Anapa, where fuel oil was spilled, the speaker added. In this case, tensions are rising in temporarily occupied Crimea following a precision Ukrainian strike on Russian 96L6E air defense radar system near the town of Saki. According to the Atesh partisan movement, which includes agents embedded within the Russian military, the strike has caused significant alarm among occupying forces and led to a shift in their operational posture. The 96L6E radar system, part of Russia's integrated air defense network, plays a critical role in detecting aerial threats, including low-flying aircraft and drones. Its destruction has reportedly fueled fears among Russian personnel that Ukraine is methodically working to degrade Russia's electronic warfare and radar capabilities in Crimea. The Atesh sources suggest that Ukrainian forces are engaged in a broader effort to clear the skies over the peninsula, disabling Russian EW assets as a prelude to launching coordinated missile and drone strikes on military infrastructure. The report notes that the occupiers are now taking urgent and visible measures to protect remaining systems, indicating both the importance of these assets and a growing sense of vulnerability. Despite these defensive efforts, the Atesh operatives say they are continuing to track the movement and deployment of radar and EW systems across Crimea. These agents are passing on coordinates and intelligence to Ukrainian forces, potentially enabling further targeted strikes. As the report notes, Russian systems are widely distributed across the peninsula. There are plenty of them in Crimea. They won't miss. It is expected that Ukraine will launch more attacks on Crimea in the coming period.